What's up, everybody, and welcome back into the Play the Fights on College Football Show. Week 6 is upon us, and we're nearing the halfway point to the college football season. Crazy enough, but there's been great things so far this season. The Heisman candidates race is on. I mean, there's a million different people with a million different opinions on who's leading the Heisman race right now. So let's lead it off by talking to the boys tonight about that. Something a little lighter to start the show. Who do you got up top? Ashton Jeanty. I mean, Iowa's got a good back out there, JP and Caleb Johnson. You got Travis Hunter floating around. You got to pick one name that stands out to you right now to win the race in New York. If it ended today, who would you pick?
Me personally?
Yeah.
I'd probably take Travis Hunter here. Just with the sheer production, smaller sample size again, different teams he's done it against, not the same level of competition as others, but I think with the numbers he's put up to this point, I'd lean that direction. Maybe Milroe a close second.
It's hard to argue that with what he's doing. Jake, who would you put? Would you give to a back, or would you stick Travis Hunter in the Big 12 too?
If Colorado gets 8 wins, you can go Travis Hunter. If Boise makes the playoff, Ashton Jeanty.
Those are good answers. Reese, disagree, agree?
I feel like the obvious one would be, just because we had that big game last week, would be Jalen Milroe, because you had to have your Heisman moment. And I mean, that guy having that 75-yard bomb to Ryan Williams, but and also like the first half he had, like I feel like that sticks in people's minds if it was going to end right now. I don't want it to be him. I think Ashton Daniels or Travis Hunter would be a hell of a lot more fun. I'd rather see them go and do it. But I think with the way the press works in America and how we all vote, I think Jalen Milroe would be pretty much at the top of that list.
That's a fair way to put it as well. I think another name maybe floating around people would argue for is Cam Ward. The season he's had to this point is probably worth a seat in New York for sure, but we're going to talk about him later tonight when we preview Cal and Miami. We are here to preview the Week 6 slate. You've never been a part of the show before, welcome in. This is college football heaven, where you're going to preview and recap week to week 5 to 6 main games, and we're going to give you our dog's dog, which is our underdog of the week, and our best bet to end every show. We'll also give you a G5 game of the week, because we cover everything from G5 to Power 4. So welcome in, and we appreciate you being here. But with that, let's go into the show, because we got 6 games to preview tonight, all very important ones, including one that is a part of our fan perspective segment, which you can check out on YouTube streaming right now. We cover Iowa, Iowa State, and Nebraska, and those do great numbers, so we appreciate those viewers if you're tuning into the main show tonight. But let's go into week 6. JP, take us into Texas A&M and Missouri. This one's fun. Had a hype video drop about it today. The fans are just electrified for this game. Pretty mad that College Game Day didn't make the trip out back to Aggie Land this week. And it could have been heard, because it's going to be a good battle. Texas A&M is a 2-point favorite, 2.5-point favorite. Jake, I'll go to you first on this one. Break down this game for us.
Yeah, it's a good one, and it's probably the best SEC game we're getting this weekend, and from two, members of the conference that don't always get the top tier appreciation as far as value in the SEC. So this is a good one for everyone to highlight and get eyes on. When it comes down to this game in particular, is the Mizzou offense going to have its best game? I think it needs to, because they're going to be facing the best defense they've seen so far this year, especially at defensive line. We all know what Nick Scorton can do on that edge and how much pressure he can creating havoc. On the other side, can Texas A&M's offense keep up if Missouri does put up points? I was listening to, I think it was Missouri's 247 guy on Cover 3 today, and he said he's pretty confident and says that if Missouri gets to 27 points, he doesn't think that Texas A&M can keep up. I kind of agree. They made a good point, and Missouri's seen mobile quarterbacks if they do see Marcel Reed, but also if they do go Connor Wigman, God, I don't know what he can really bring to the table as from what we've seen this year. So that's something to keep in mind as well. But if the offense on Missouri's side is going to have to play its best game of the year, it starts because that starts with Brady.
We'll give a second for the mic to catch up. All right, now go.
I say it starts with Brady Cook. You hear that part?
Yep.
Good. All right. Good. I'll finish. Brady just needs to be a little more accurate. He missed some throws so far this season. His stats are about the same as last year, but I think some of the consistency stuff is what separates from his great year last year to this year so far.
Yeah, we're definitely looking a little bit more from Brady Cook in this matchup. Reese, any thoughts on this game yourself?
I'll say, I mean, you're looking at Missouri from last year. This year, they haven't had as much success, with big plays. I think they're in like the bottom 40% or something like that. Of college football, they're running the ball extremely well this year, so they have that going for them. They can get the big pass game going with Burden. Then you look at their defense too. I mean, their defense has been very solid. Their pass defense, I think they give up. I think they're the bottom 5% or the bottom five of completion percentages. It's also because they just get so much pressure at the quarterback too. They don't make it easy. They don't let him give him a lot of time in there. They're putting pressure on him. So I think Missouri's defense is going to be the big answer because, like you said before, if Missouri scores a lot of points, I don't think A&M is going to be able to keep up with them because of that defense.
I think a fun way to look at it as well is this is an old Big 12 matchup. 16 series meetings between these two, 9-7 lead for the Aggies. However, Missouri's won 7 of the last 10. So that just kind of shows you the direction of this program has gone. Really good rushing offenses like Reese talked about. Texas A&M, 13th rushing offense in the country based off yards per game, and Missouri 25th in that category. So 2 really good backs going at it here. Going to be that slower paced game. Who's just going to win that matchup? Is it going to be Nate Noel or is it going to be Le'Veon Moss? These are 2 good backs within the conference. It's really going to be which defensive line can step up more in this spot. I really like what I've seen from Nick Scorton and Texas A&M's defensive line. They've been good all year. And with this game being at Kyle Field, I feel like that's a massive factor for who's going to win this game. And those are my thoughts on it. JP.
Yeah, I think A&M comes in the more challenged team. And I understand that Missouri's played closer games, but that's Missouri's fault that they've played closer games. This isn't based on the talent level being even. This is playing with your food with Vanderbilt, Boston College, kind of go down your list. I think another reason why Missouri is in a spot where the numbers look so good against for the pass defense is they haven't played a pass attack. And I'm not saying they're going to get one this weekend, but if you can supplement it with the run and then add in the ability to Texas A&M to find a quarterback that can move his feet as well, there's more of a risk in that situation. I feel like throughout the most of the year, Missouri's benefited from playing offenses that aren't great or super explosive because they just kind of sit there and let teams hang around or they let them stay in games. I mean, you can't do that anymore, especially when you're going on the road in this environment. So I think there's an A&M piece here that I like more and more confidence in them, even though they have just as many changes and things going on throughout the year to this point. I mean, they got in a close one with Arkansas last week, but it just feels like Missouri I haven't seen that button and that ignition really kick on for them quite yet. So it makes me hesitant to pick them in a spot like this.
That's what I was thinking too. I was looking at kind of the rankings around the country, and Missouri has the 3rd overall defense in the country based off yard per game. But just with the strength of their schedule, it's like, how do you not at that point with the talent level this team had in the preseason? I also think an interesting thing to look at, maybe a fun fact that you wouldn't guess, is I was looking through the game preview notes on each individual team's website, and Missouri now holds the longest active win streak in college football at 9 games, with Georgia's loss last week. So there's a fun factoid for you. Going for 10.
Keep going, boys.
Yep, leading the country right now. So we'll see if Missouri can extend it out to 10 games and stay at top of the college football world win streak wise. But let's kick it off. Let's go round table style, score prediction, who wins, who covers. Jake, give us your pick.
Yeah, I've went back and forth on this one, but I trust the quarterback and the receiver connection. I trust this offense to go on the road, and a lot of people doubt Kyle Fields' home field advantage. So we'll see if that's true in a test this weekend. But I'm going to take Missouri in this one, especially with it being, an underdog. Give me a little money line sprinkle.
Yeah, I think the line's still at 2.5. I saw today, so I didn't know. We've seen it before though. 2-point lines switch over to the other team, and injury pops up. It hasn't happened quite yet. So as today stands on Wednesday, Texas A&M still the favorite. JP, who wins? Who covers?
I'm going to take Texas A&M. I'll take the home team here. I'll take the better defensive front to wreak a little more havoc. And again, I just got to see that ignition kick on for Missouri to really feel comfortable with them in this spot. Feels like one of those spots where the better teams, the dog on the road in an environment that's really tough. I'm going to go with the line here. I'll take Texas A&M.
Yeah, this was I think a really good spot for also the Gig'em fan base. I mean, you get week 1, all the hype in the world, college game day, Notre Dame, they take advantage of you. Now you rattle off a few good wins, especially one against Arkansas last week. And now you put yourself in a spot to really have this stadium ready to go. I like A&M as well in this spot. I think the line's in a good spot. I think they win this one 20-17. It's going to be close, slow, ground and pound. But that's just where I see it. Reese, finish us off.
I'll join you, Schaefer. I just think JB mentioned before, I think you haven't seen that switch from Missouri. I just think this team has a lot more going for them. Also, RIP Orioles, by the way. They have a lot
Fucking
more going for
bullshit.
them right now. They have a lot more going on for them. I think they have a lot more ahead of them for this season. I mean, this is a
Let's go
game that you
Royals.
can lose or whatever, but this is a game they're obviously not going to want to lose. I think that offense is going to have a lot more firepower. I'll take a team like Kyle Field also. It hasn't proven to be a place you can't go in and win as a team on the road. So I'll take Mizzou in this spot.
Can I ask?
What?
I think for this show, we're just gonna give it to Reese as a stamp of approval for home field advantages. Reese, does Kyle Field not get that stamp of approval right now?
No, it doesn't.
All right.
You had Notre
Doesn't
Dame
get the
going
stamp.
there, and they got beat week 1, and then they go lose to Miami Northern Illinois. So it's like you haven't seen it consistently be that, and you have App State how many years ago going there? That was like a 17.5 point spread. Like I just don't think you have it as number one place in NCAA football, but like, is it really? Like teams go in there and win.
That's fair enough. So you're on Missouri, Reese, just to be clear.
Yes.
2-2 split to start tonight's episode. I love that.
There you go.
JP and I on Mizzou. I think I need to make a little push. So I'm glad I'm on the opposite side of Jake. The standings are tight. Jake still has that lead from that big week 1, but the standings are tight on the ATS board that we put out weekly. Check that on X at Play the Fight Pod on all platforms, but check it out on X weekly. All right, that is the opening SEC matchup. Let's move down the line. Let's go to the Big Ten. Let's head to Columbus, Ohio, and talk about JP's Iowa Hawkeyes visiting the Ohio State Buckeyes. Well, this should be a interesting matchup to kind of really tell you where both teams are at. That's
it's
for sure.
A football game.
I'm excited.
It should be a football.
It's a football game.
It's going to be interesting because you get to see Iowa's defense against a very high caliber offense, and then you kind of get to see if Ohio State, it's their first really tough opponent. I think people kind of made Michigan State last week to be higher than it was, but this is a program that a little bit has way more hype around it in the preseason, so it should be a good matchup. 2:30, a CBS game, main focus. This is your old 2:30 SEC slot, now taken up by the Big Ten. Let's go to Jake first on this one. We'll keep it light with JP because obviously the fan perspective's out there. Check his full breakdown and thoughts on our YouTube live right now. But Jake, tell us your thoughts on this matchup.
Yeah, it's kind of a dead horse at this point, right? But let's start with the Iowa offense and the task they have at hand against this Ohio State defense in Columbus. I do think that the Iowa offense is improved, and it's been because of how good Caleb Johnson has been. I think that their ability to pass the football still needs to be proven. But if you guys did catch that Ohio State game last week, I know it was going on during the Georgia-Alabama game, but Michigan State, turned it over 3 times in Ohio State's red zone. So there could be an opportunity that maybe Iowa can find a vulnerable spot on this defense that's trying to gel right now because, quite frankly, they just haven't played anybody. And then on the other side, like it's going to have to happen. Like, yes, Cade McNamara is going to have to make some throws, but how good can Caleb Johnson be? We know he's seen some decent defensive fronts. I mean, I even will say Iowa State's is decent. It's not Ohio State level. So he's proven it at certain spots, but he's going to be up to the tallest task this weekend. And I'm interested to see that. And this is going to be the best defense that Ohio State's seen offensively so far this year. There's no question about that.
Probably one of the best they'll ever see the whole season.
I completely agree. My concern for Iowa, and I think JP even mentioned it in his fan perspective, is I feel like the defensive line has regressed a little bit this year as far as pressures and maybe just honestly in numbers and sacks. Am I wrong in saying that, JP?
Yeah, there's like minimal. 1 total in Iowa State, 1 total in Minnesota, and then they had a ton against Troy and Illinois State, but I'm not counting those.
Exactly. And I thought that's what I heard on your fan perspective. So that was good stats. That's just my concern. If I had to be worried about one or the other, I would honestly say I'm more concerned about Iowa's defense in getting pressure on Will Howard this weekend more than I am maybe with the offense. And you might not hear that everywhere, to be completely honest.
Yeah, and everywhere, including me. I'll go to me next. I mean, I think one thing about Ohio State that I've seen this year, especially against matchups with Marshall early in the season, they kind of get off to some slow starts. And I get it. We're progressing week through week. But I just see this game for some reason being 0-0 at the end of the first quarter. That would not shock me because Iowa's defense is that good, and Ohio State has the talent on their defense. I think a fun fact for Ohio State is they haven't given up more than 17 points in a football game since the Georgia matchup in the 2022 college football playoff. So this defense is legit. Outside of one time, I believe, they gave up 30 to Michigan, I think, but they had the play calls. But it's still been an elite defense, so it's going to be a defensive-minded matchup. Iowa's offense, has it taken a step forward? Yes. But when you have probably one of the better backs in the country, yes, that's a very good point. But one of the things that comes to mind with Iowa's offense is when you have one of the best running backs in the country, yes, you're going to see more offensive production, but still throwing the ball. They're 130th out of 134 teams. McNamara just hasn't gotten it done. The targets on the outside are good, but they're young. I'm blanking on the name, JP. Help me out. The 15. Vanderzee, thank you. He's a really young, talented receiver in the Big Ten, but the matchups they have with Denzel Burke and Caleb Downs and that secondary of Ohio State, it's going to make this very slow paced, but I just don't see enough from Iowa passing offense. This game. I don't see enough from Iowa State's passing offense either to stay competitive in this game. Let me throw that out there.
Dude, I think that's like my biggest bone to pick with any like podcast I've listened to. The amount of college football. I know. I'm just saying, like, the amount of college football people I've heard them call the Iowa State Hawkeyes, the Iowa Cyclones, just talking about Iowa State, and they just call them Iowa, and it's like
not here. It was just a slip up. I'm sorry.
Yeah,
we're only human, man.
I also fixed it. So throw me back a bone because that's insane. But all right, Reese, give us your thoughts on this matchup.
I mean, simplify it down. There's a good offense and there's a not a very good offense. I'm going to trust a team with a little bit better offense. I just don't trust Iowa's defense can get stopped
right there.
Do you want me to go in more depth? Like, let's dumb it down. Like, it's really not that hard to think about because is this Iowa team being able to score? Like Parks just said, that defense has given up more than 17 points in the last how many years, except for that one time. Do you think Iowa's going to get that many times? Iowa's going to score like over 70 points against this Ohio State defense? That offense? I don't think so. They're going to have to rely on Caleb Johnson a lot. And I think Ohio State can adjust like, they're just going to give him the ball every single time. I think we can figure it out. And then Ohio State has how many weapons? Like, I just think it's going to be too much for that defense. And then I just don't know if Iowa can keep up with them.
Give us your simplified thoughts, JP, based off of kind of what we're saying. Obviously, your thoughts are out there.
Yeah, I mean, the understanding is that the defense will be on the field too long. Just like in 21 when we went over there, it was the same thing. Stay in the whole thing the whole time. Now your defense is on 75% of the time, and they end up giving up points, and it looks like it's a lot worse than it is. Yeah, it's pretty easy to drive 30 yards, 40 yards, 25 yards when they can't get off the field. So, honestly, like just the ability to run between the tackles and just make them think that they need to be dropping safeties outside of 8 yards, from the line of scrimmage would be real nice. I also think if you can get pressure on Howard, there's options. But then again, have it happen.
And we've seen Will Howard make his mistakes with pressure on him. We just haven't seen that pressure from Iowa yet. But if any defense is going to come out and play big in a big game, it's a Phil Parker defense. And it wouldn't shock me by any means, and it shouldn't shock the college football world. But it's also saying, and for any defense playing Iowa, I should say, that they're going to try and force Iowa to throw. That's not groundbreaking stuff. That's about as simple as you can be with this Iowa offense. But that's really what Ohio State's going to do with the talent in their secondary and the way they can play man-to-man. But JP, I didn't catch the end of it. You can throw it out there for maybe the people that aren't going to watch the full fan perspective, but give us your thoughts on the game. Who wins? Who covers?
I think Iowa stays within the number here, but Ohio State takes the cake here. Just on the field too long, close early, not enough to pull away with just the way they end up playing this one out. So
that would not shock me at all. No. With how slow I think this game's going to be, that would not shock me one bit. Reese, who wins? Who covers?
Ohio State's going to win. I really want to take Iowa to cover, but I just don't know. Like, if it does, they're going to have to get 2 touchdowns and maybe a field goal. And I mean, they're going to get that many. I'll take Ohio State. Let's go 35-10.
Fair enough. I think just because of the young matchups I talked about on the outside next to the all-star talent on the defensive backside for Ohio State, I think McNamara gets himself into trouble, forces a couple turnovers, and that's where I think Ohio State covers this number. It's not going to be just because Iowa's defense is getting blown off the ball. I just think they're going to be put in some pretty bad spots with how Iowa's offense operates. So I like Ohio State to win and cover in Columbus. Jake.
Iowa in all of their games this year, the one thing they haven't done is played 2 perfect halves. Like you look at the Illinois State game, bad first half, Iowa State, bad second half, Minnesota, bad first half, Troy, bad first half. Like Ohio State is not a team on the road that allows you to play 1 bad half. I'm a little surprised that this number is not like 21.5. It's actually been coming down. People are taking Iowa. I saw 20 today.
Happens all the
as
time.
of Wednesday.
Happened last time. Just
So
go back the other way.
It's
the
interesting.
vibes are not high from the Iowa fan. I will say that when breaking down the game, it's not a big
It's a game.
It's not. So that being said, JP's not instilling any confidence in me to take the Hawks, so I will take Ohio State at home.
All right, there it is. Another 2-2 split on the ATS board to start off tonight's episode. So that's 2 in a row. Let's move on back to the SEC. This one's a fun little matchup. Let's talk Ole Miss and South Carolina. Williams-Brice Stadium, 2:30 on ESPN. This one's going to be a good one. Ole Miss -9 coming off of a loss against Kentucky. And then South Carolina gets Lenora Sellers back. And there's a lot of conversations about whether or not he could give this Ole Miss defense trouble. Let's break it down. Jake, do it for us.
Yeah, this is really, don't let your casual friends tell you it's a boring weekend, because this matchup is awesome. But we really haven't seen South Carolina in probably 2 weeks, right? They had a bye week last week, and then they played Akron. So we haven't seen them since that LSU game. Recency bias. A lot of people are maybe down on Ole Miss after we saw what they put on the field against Kentucky at home last week. The Ole Miss defense has been good this year. It's actually been really good. And we know the transfers they brought in with Chris Paul and I'm drawing a blank on the Texas A&M D tackle, but other guys like that. And my only question is have they played anybody on offense that's worth a pulse? Like Brock Vandegrift and that Kentucky offense hasn't done anything. Obviously Wake Forest and then the 2 other opponents that I can't even put on the top of my head, they haven't seen an offense. Beamer says Sellers for sure has been full go at practice. So I'm expecting him to start on Saturday. I think Rocket Sanders has been back at practice again. I expect him to play as well. He had a huge 140-yard game against LSU. So that gives me confidence with South Carolina offensively to maybe keep up at home. And everybody knows, I mean, it's Cocktober. So how are you going to root against the Cocks at Bryce Edwards Stadium?
Gamecocks, people, Gamecocks.
So
Kid show.
The last point I want to make is the defensive line really for Kentucky got after Ole Miss last week. And there was concerns going into that game about the Ole Miss offensive line. If you haven't paid attention to South Carolina yet, like learn the name Dylan Stewart. I know the college football diehards already have. This kid's a freshman. I know there's a lot of really good freshman wide receivers, but this guy at defensive end is an absolute freak. And I expect him to get after Jackson Dart and put more pressure on that Ole Miss quarterback this weekend.
JP, your thoughts on this matchup?
Yeah, this year 2 really good defenses going up against each other. No, not a situation I thought before the year I'd be saying here's high flying 1 and here's high flying 2. But let Jay kind of hit it on the head here. Ole Miss has hit a lot of things they thought they needed in the portal. Offensive line's not one they seem to have hit on or found a way to really fix out yet. We know South Carolina's had their problems offensively on the line of scrimmage. And there's a worry here that Ole Miss, you kind of just got your bell rung last week against Kentucky. You're stunned. Now you got to go on a road against a team who's probably feeling really confident with who they are and what they've done. So do I think Sellers is a world beater? No. But do I think that defensive line can keep them in this game and really make Ole Miss just sporadic? Like we haven't seen that Ole Miss run game take off. We haven't really seen that offense like explode yet. I mean, 77 on Furman, but that's Furman again. 99% of the people listening to the show couldn't tell me what Furman's mascot is. So there's kind of a thing here where somebody's got to get out of a rut, and then the other side just is ready to make an actual statement this year. And so this line is in a weird spot. I like what Beamer's done. It's just feels like a spot where we always look at Ole Miss to bounce back every year, and then they haven't done it yet. Is this year they finally kind of put themselves back on track for a spot maybe in the SEC title or playoff contention?
I think the main key matchup to watch here is Ole Miss passing offense, which ranks 4th in the country, versus South Carolina's passing defense, which ranks 18th. So you're going to really try and make Ole Miss one-dimensional in the run game here with Parrish and Jones. If they can get going, I think Ole Miss can handle business pretty easily. But I also think Jackson Dart and Ole Miss offense is going to try and be Ole Miss offense and throw the football. You got guys like Trey Harris on the outside. Can you get them going? Can you throw the ball downfield effectively early enough in the game to create that separation? I don't know if any of that will be enough difference. I think the main difference here is Lenora Sellers and his time playing. Yes, he got banged up, but he's had his problems turning the ball over too. He's a good runner. We know that. He's a good option, but he turns the ball over. Only 2 touchdowns to his 2 picks this year. You turn the ball over and give extra opportunities to an offense like Ole Miss and Jackson Dart, who are coming off of a tough loss trying to make a restatement, because if they lose this matchup, you really create yourself a tough pass to the SEC and an even a harder conversation when it comes to making a 12-team playoff. So it's a huge game for Ole Miss for that reason, and I think they can cover the number on that reason alone. Plus, just the strength of their overall passing offense, I think, reignites itself in a tough environment here. Reese.
Yeah, the blueprint's out to beat and how to beat Ole Miss. But then I think you have a full week of the tape that everybody's been saying about Ole Miss right after that game. These guys can't handle getting punched in the mouth. They haven't played anybody. Lane Kiffin can't coach the big one. He's a good portal guy, but he's just not a good football coach. I think that's fire for these guys for the week. South Carolina does have a solid defense, and they did run the ball very well against LSU. So I think those are things they're going to try to lean on, try to make they like to get rid of the ball very early. So they're going to try to make Jackson Dart hold the ball longer, make other reads. But I just think Ole Miss in this spot where, like I said, why I picked Missouri before, I think they just have so much more ahead of them than the South Carolina team. They're going to find a way to win this ball game. It's not like it's going into Georgia or Alabama winning a football game, but it's still going on the road in a hostile environment and trying to win this football game too. So, yes, Jacob?
Yeah, a little chirp from Jacob. A little deep breath.
I mean, just it's October. It's Williams-Brice Stadium. I think
are these guys
the Cox
Bryant Denny Stadium?
They would beg to differ.
What I said.
I thought we were giving Reese the home field advantage decision here. It doesn't matter if you just want to say the word cock. I don't know. That doesn't add up.
It's over.
Oh, he's sandstorming live on the episode. No copyright YouTube. Please don't copyright us. It's just a brief little
LSU didn't give a shit, and they went in there. I don't think they're better than Ole Miss.
All right,
give me Ole Miss. Ole Miss to win and cover.
The insight on the game. Let's go roundtable style. I'll kick it off this time. I think this one is going to come down to the points off turnovers in Ole Miss's favor. I think they win this one 34-24. That's a cover. Barely. I think the line's in a good spot for what the game's going to be. So I got Ole Miss winning this one on the road. Jake, are you going to stick with the Cox?
Obviously, he's going with them.
To win outright?
I've stuck with the Cox my whole life. I'm not going to. We're going to let that one sit. Yeah, we'll take South Carolina. No, they're not going to win. I think they're going to come up short like the LSU game. We'll go 24-27 Ole Miss, but I will take South Carolina to cover.
JP, please take it.
I'll take the points, but I think Ole Miss wins this one. Just ball control in a certain spot and hopefully turnovers stay in the direction that South Carolina doesn't just throw this away, and a great opportunity for this program.
All right. 2 on South Carolina. Reese, you riding with me or with the other two?
I'll take the Rebels. I'll go 31-20.
All right. There it is. That is okay. For some reason in my head, I was doing the math. I thought you said like
math. Numbers.
Yeah, I thought you were going to say like 22. I was like, wait, that's 8. That's a push. He's picking a push. But no. All right. That is a 2-2 split. Again, 3 games in and 3 splits. So we're giving you multiple opinions on this show. Nobody can yell at us too much. All right. Going down the line. Let's stay in the SEC. Let's talk Tennessee, Arkansas. Tennessee obviously coming off a bye. Had a big week on moving up the rankings last week with the losses that occurred. Let's break this one down, JP.
Yeah, absolutely. Arkansas here, I think, has gotten to a point where they feel like they should have a couple more wins on their side of things than they do at this point in time. Now you need to come back home against a team who's very talented and very high on how they're feeling on Rocky Top. Nico is going to find a way to score points on this defense. I don't know if Arkansas has the athletes to really stay with everything that they're doing. But I do understand that this is I think the most complete team Arkansas has seen to this point. They saw a sputtering Oklahoma State offense and a poor Oklahoma State defense, and they saw a good A&M defense and a sputtering offense. Now you're going to get both ends of the stick here. So I'm thinking what Arkansas has done with Petrino to get Taylor Green to fit that scheme makes sense, but Taylor Green's still Taylor Green, and he's going to make some mistakes in some spots. So that is the worry here. And just like you want to talk about a place that is probably going to be fired up and ready to go for this. It's Donald W. Reynolds Razorback Stadium. I think
Shout out Walmart.
Donald W. Reynolds Razorback Stadium.
No, I think
correct.
you.
Yeah.
Say that 10 times real fast.
It's not. I couldn't even do it once without sputtering there. So I'll pass on that. But just the pure talent gap here and athlete gap, I think in some spots is going to be the difference in this one. So I think Tennessee has a real shot to run away with it and make it ugly. There'll be some flashes early, I think, though.
All right, that's a good breakdown. I kind of piggyback on everything you said because I didn't have much to expand on it other than I just feel like this is another opportunity for Tennessee to have a coming out party on the national scale of defensively, because everybody can talk about their offense and kind of what they did in those first four, but how good was their defense on the road at Oklahoma, who's not showing much life offensively anyway. But I think this is another good opportunity with some explosive plays and players on the Arkansas side. But I do not know if Taylor Green can be consistent without his mistakes enough to compete with a team of this caliber. I do love Tennessee in this spot. And I think it's going to be a big week for this defense. I mean, Taylor Green, 5 picks, 5 touchdowns, even split again. So you got to figure he's going to make a couple of those mistakes. You give Nico those extra chances, they'll run away with it. So I love Tennessee in this spot, Jake.
Yeah, I think I was Josh Pate the other night who I heard said, if you're Arkansas, you feel like you should be 5-0. No, because if you're an Arkansas fan, you've seen these results the last 5 years or just this entire Sam Pittman era for that matter. Like the turnovers are just killer. And that's what you get out of Taylor Green.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, you can't say that I enjoy watching Arkansas games. I mean, they're fun. I mean,
you could definitely say it. You think about Nebraska fans.
Say what
Like, you don't think they've sat there and been like, we should be 5-0 if we just play football.
We were up 28-3 in the third quarter on Colorado, and there was a thing in the back of my head that was talking. 100%. That's just PTSD. That's the way the program's gone. Why wouldn't you be that way?
That's what I'm saying. So, like, they probably feel like they should be.
Oh, yeah.
Or at least 4-1. I'd give them 4-1 more.
I know, but how bad does that Oklahoma State game look like a better win now? Like it's only gone downhill.
No, it looks like a worse loss.
That's what I'm saying. It works worse and worse week by week.
I think that, and that Oklahoma State defense is below average. Texas A&M was, obviously they're solid, right? We just talked about them, but Tennessee's a different beast, especially on defense. That defensive line is real, and you couldn't even run the ball on Texas A&M. How are you going to run on Tennessee? You got to get Jaquindon Jackson going. Can you count on Taylor Green for 2 or 3 big explosive plays and then ask him to not turn the ball over? That's going to be the recipe to stay in this game. We'll see if it happens.
Reese, your thoughts on this?
Yeah, they're going to be unanimous in this one. I think Tennessee is going to go in there. They're going to get up early. I don't think this Arkansas defense is ready, and they're going to get up and they're going to be able to run the ball. They've I think like the second best offense in running in college football right now. They're going to have no issues with that Arkansas defense. Then I think Arkansas, you're going to have to try to make Taylor Green throw the ball a lot more. And again, that's going to give issues for him turning the ball over. They're going to be trying to play catch up. I just don't think there's going to be enough for this Arkansas team. I think Tennessee goes in there, and I think they handle them.
All right, Reese, then kick it off. Roundtable style. Who wins? Who covers?
Let's go Tennessee 34-14.
All right, I like that spot. I'm kind of right around that, so I'll stake Tennessee. I think they win the game handily and cover on the road 38-13. I think the differences, again, are those turnovers and setting up too many chances for the power of that Tennessee offense. But the defense does stand out in this one. JP.
Yeah, again, Arkansas, with anybody with a pulse offensively, has been able to put up numbers on them. A&M one was odd to get a first start for a kid. But in Pine Bluff, I'm not giving Pine Bluff anything here. I just want you to know UAB put out a good number on them. Oklahoma State put a good number on them. Like, there's plenty of space here for Nico to work wide and make this team really just pay for that without having the speed on the outside defensively and the bodies up front to stop the run. Other side, it just feels like it's going to be a long day. Like, get through the first 2 drives. I think first 2 drives, you can be like, hey, Arkansas kind of came to play a little bit. It'll be gone by mid-second quarter. The vibe in that place. So love Arkansas fans. Had a blast on Pearl Street. Love to go back sometime. Sorry, it's going to be ugly.
If you'll have them back.
13. Yeah, 41-13. Piano Bar will have us back.
Oh, yeah, we're right around it. That's what I was just about to say. Little
Piano
somber
bar.
drinks at the piano bar after the game. Never hurt anybody. They're still going to go down the same. Maybe a little tougher at the beginning, but such a good bar, good town, good street. Jake.
Yeah, it's Tennessee, and then they get a bye week until they play LSU. It's it's an interesting spot. You heard Heupel say after that Oklahoma game, they caught him saying to Nico, we took off the gas in the second half. We were pretty conservative. I don't see them doing that this time around. I think that Tennessee is going to try and just go on a tough road test and try out some things and be a little more aggressive for when they do play, Alabama and things like that. Texas or Arkansas's defensive line's pretty solid though, if it's going to give them a chance. But no, since we're so good at unanimous picks, we might as well go Tennessee to cover here. 35-21.
That's good news for Razorback fans that we're all on the Volunteers this week. We have not been great in the unanimous pick era, but it's not been too bad. It hasn't
it's
been
not,
like,
it's not that the team's losing, it's that they're covering, which I mean is good news if that's all you care about as an Arkansas fan is covering this one.
Fair enough.
Good teams win, great teams cover.
Honestly, if you're an Arkansas fan, or at this point, do you kind of just want them to cover and be competitive?
Such a loser's mentality. No.
I mean,
you want to go to Sam Pittman? I bet.
It's literally the ABC prime slot. Like this one could get ugly on national television. It's one of the lone games of the week for the SEC.
Well, last we can talk about it.
I was going to say, last team they call UT and wear the color orange went in there, they lost. So,
yep, I remember that.
Fair enough. That was
remembers.
Good pullback there. But I think it is worth mentioning. We took a trip down there in 2021, and it was Arkansas Auburn, Bo Nix level Auburn. And they went off. Auburn won the matchup. But around where we're from, Iowa State, Iowa, Nebraska, your team loses, you go to the bar, it's a different experience. Maybe you don't go to the bar at all when your team loses, which is highly possible with a lot of people, especially like us. It's no different down there. I don't know if they're completely clocked in like they are in the Midwest down there because the bar was hopping that night after a huge loss to Auburn.
Rumor has
I think
it was like
they'll be at the
piano
weekend
bar or something.
It was. I had a dad fall on my back and spill on my back. Guy was trying to relive the glory days.
It was homecoming.
It might have been homecoming too.
Sorry, I didn't go to the dance.
The only vibe homecoming vibe I got was the flower mural things outside the sorority houses. Other than that, nobody invited us to tailgate. Gosh dang,
that's true. That is the diabolical SEC territory. You got to just see people invite them, and we were even in all in Razorback gear.
I will say, maybe we should have been in learning from other road trips. I think you want to dress in opposing teams' gear so people know that you're a visitor. I've come to learn that. So instead of trying to blend in, you make it obvious that you're a visitor.
Oh, yeah.
And people
is that what you did when you went and watched Iowa State play someone else?
I mean, it helped, right?
You know what we need to do, guys? We're visiting. We just need to wear Iowa State stuff.
Well, I found it to be a lot easier, right?
Like
you're not
just all wore our own teams.
What?
We should have worn
not wearing your team's gear.
Well, I'm just saying, like,
I'm just saying, how many
doesn't that make sense? Like, probably JP, like, think of it this way. Not saying we should have worn Auburn gear, but you go to an Iowa game, maybe you're playing Washington, far place away. You're not going to expect a lot of Washington people to walk around. You're probably more susceptible, because we like to learn as fans, to talk to a Washington fan rather than talking to just another Hawkeye fan.
I'm not saying your reasoning is flawed. I'm saying, how many neutral games have you been to, or you're not a fan of either one of them, and you've had to make the t-shirt decision?
I've not been in neutral games.
Fair points on both sides, guys. Come on.
I mean, we can say it here. We all laid a decent number of cash for what we had at the time on Arkansas as well. I was not wearing Auburn that day. And we lost it all. Let me throw that out there as well. We lost it all because I believe Arkansas was a favorite in that matchup. And
sorry, Piano Bar. I would have requested more songs, but your boys lost that Saturday.
That was 100% the truth. But good bar, good town. Shout out Arkansas. Let's move back into previews. Let's go to the ACC. Let's talk a little Duke, Georgia Tech, not getting as much national attention. So we're going to cover it here on Play the Fight Song. Jake, break this one down for us.
Yeah, this is an interesting one to get into. Duke, I wish I had the stat in front of me. Undefeated for the 5-0 for the first time in. Does anybody know on the top of their head? I mean, it's been, I think, decades. If I'm
a long time, I think,
not mistaken. So. Really cool what Manny Diaz has done so far. Have they played the toughest opponents? No, I mean, not really, but not many teams can say they're 5-0. So they go on the road. You play a Georgia Tech team that's also had a pretty solid year. Brent Key's got this group going pretty well. So I'm interested to see this matchup on both sides. For Duke, the offense hasn't been flashy. You get Texas transfer Malik Murphy. You think maybe he's kind of the reason this turnaround's happened. he's been okay, but I don't feel like he's really been game changing. It really is. It's the running back, Star Thomas. He's had 3 straight games with 100+ yards. You have to get him going. And on the other side, the Duke defense has been really good. They haven't played a quarterback as good as Haynes King. So the task is going to be up for it on Saturday. Interested to see if this Duke team is legit or not.
Can I go?
JP, break it
Thank
down.
you.
Yeah.
Okay.
What, George?
Elon, Northwestern, Connecticut, Middle Tennessee, and North Carolina.
Hey, 5-0.
But they came back down 20. I think it was 20-0 against.
Yeah, what's my
Not the toughest
North Carolina.
SOS there, JP.
That's fine. I'm just here to tell you they're not the real deal. This is a hard. If you bought this like low and you want to sell it, get rid of it now because this is when it starts tumbling the other way. I'm just telling the world. I'm not telling you. I'm not saying you're wrong, Jacob. Just let me talk here.
Jacob.
I think they've hit their team over, right?
Yes, I think they were like 3.5, 4.5.
4.5. So it's good.
Yeah,
good to see.
Hey, that's what I'm just saying. This is when it
Now you
spirals.
sell.
I think Georgia Tech right here has a real shot to get back on track. The Louisville loss hurts them a little bit. I wasn't too sure on that one. The Syracuse one, like there's just been some losses in here I think they would really like a shot at again. And I still think this is a Georgia Tech team with a lot of high hopes. And you're getting a night game at Bobby Dodd, which, you know, if you win either that Syracuse or that Louisville game, I think you have more of a shot of a ruckus atmosphere because when that place is going, it's a ton of fun. But I do think, like Jake said, this Haynes King's easily the best quarterback. They're easily going to face one of the best. They're the best receiver, the better offensive line they've seen than all year. So if you're Duke, what is your biggest worry? I think it would be getting the offense going because you have a real opportunity to do it against a defense who hasn't really been that great. They've been good against the run, but they've been beaten against teams through the air in all situations. So I think that's where if I was Manny Diaz, where I was like, here's a big opportunity. If we continue to play well on one side of the football and we just get better offensively, things would be really good. So I don't love this spot for him. I think Georgia Tech really sees the opportunity to get back on track and really find a way to get back to probably 7-8 wins if they keep playing well. And I think Duke is just it's a good start. It's everything you wanted and more. But you pay Mary Sister of the Blind, Brother Where Art Thou, and some other university.
I watched a Kansas State Bill Snyder documentary on YouTube the other night. Also, like that's something you guys should look up sometime. That's kind of like, obviously Duke football wasn't where Kansas State was. I mean, they were a pretty solid football team last year, but going through a coaching change, like that's what you got to do in these second year growing periods is like just literally schedule Mary Sisters on the line because it's not going to matter if you get 6 wins and you're playing an extra game to end the year to most fan bases.
Yeah, this one, I think on the Duke side of things, you look at it and they kind of got a lot of credit for going on the road and beating a Northwestern team that's not very good. And Mississippi State transfer Mike Wright plays quarterback at Northwestern. I'm sure nobody's gotten a chance to watch them because they're not very fun to watch. But this is a different running quarterback in Haynes King than Mike Wright is, and that's where Northwestern hurt them when these two did match up. So I really think Haynes is going to have a big week running the football. I think he's going to be a majority of that offensive production. Obviously, it's not incredibly groundbreaking to say with it being a quarterback, but I just think there's too much offensive firepower. We've seen Georgia Tech put up their points. Duke hasn't played anybody that can do even half of what Georgia Tech's offense can do. So I think they roll in this spot. I think the line's up to 8. We have 7 on here, but I think
I was going to say I have 9.5 right now.
Yeah. I mean, it's just getting bet based off of, I think the line is skewed because of what Duke's done against really bad teams, but I don't know. We want to say 8.5. I feel like there's no.
Yeah. I was just going to say, we can't do 7. 7-2. Yeah. That's all Georgia Tech easy. I think it might be Georgia Tech anyway, but yeah, I'm good with it.
I think either way you're going to be on that, but Reese, break this one down for us. Then let's go 8.5, but break it down for us.
So, I mean, I saw the Georgia Tech team in person. It was 31-14 at one point in time. Then it was 31-28 pretty quick. So this is a solid Georgia Tech offense. They can get their points where they need to. Like you guys keep saying, Haynes King is the best quarterback they've seen. They're probably the best offensive line they've seen. And then you talk about the schedule they have, is Malik Murphy the guy? That offense hasn't lit up the world with the teams they've been playing too. It's like that's a big cause for concern too, is they haven't lit up. Have they scored more than 40, 45 points in a game this year against the teams they've played? It's like they haven't been doing that. And against this Georgia Tech team, who they have their weak spots too, but again, they haven't. I don't think Malik Murphy and this offense is set up to be doing that to expose this kind of defense like that. So I think it's Georgia Tech here. You're at home. It's a night game. Like I said, it's the Yellow Jackets all the way.
I'm excited. I hope this atmosphere is bumping. We've seen Georgia Tech, not really in this era, be very good, but when they were, I think it was Georgia State they were playing, the atmosphere was pretty fun coming off that Florida State win. So hopefully this is a good atmosphere and a good ACC game, because it is pretty much the highlight of the conference this weekend, besides the one we're about to preview. So let's go round table style before we get to that last one, make our picks. Duke, Georgia Tech, who wins, who covers? JP.
I'll take Georgia Tech here in the points. I just think they're a better football team. Again, I don't think Duke's very good. I just think you're seeing a number at a 5-0 and thinking this team has a shot at really being dangerous to everybody. I just don't see that as the case.
Put me on Ramblin' Wreck as well as normal, on brand for me. Jake.
We're going to do it again, aren't we? I got to take.
I mean,
I'm taking Georgia Tech.
the breakdown we just give, I think it would be insane for anybody to take Duke in this number.
I was trying to do strategy. I was like, oh, the other way. I was like, I'll make real picks here. We're not going to be doing that.
Brother.
So
yeah,
caught up.
I mean, try a
Caught
new
up again.
strategy. Hold that mic still. All right, Reese.
I don't think it's the mic.
It's all Georgia Tech here all the way. I'll take them 28-10, maybe 28-13, but they won't become close.
All right, there it is. A unanimous pick back-to-back. Tennessee, now Georgia Tech. Let's see what the last one brings us. Bring in Miami and Cal, the host of College Game Day. This one's at 9:30 Central Time.
Is this the latest kick ever for a College Game Day location?
It's got to be. There's got to be a Boise back when they did it. That was as late, right? You got to think so, but it's pretty late.
Idaho
9:30
time or West Coast time?
I know they play a lot of 9 p.m. games, so if
Wow.
that tells you that, because I think they play at 9 p.m.
Somebody
this
from Idaho in
weekend.
the
They did
chat, let
last
us
week.
know.
Yeah, let us know. If you're from Idaho, drop in what
If you like
time it is
potatoes,
right
let us
now.
know, dude.
All right, Miami, Cal. This one should be a fun one. Miami's a 10-point favorite coming off a last-minute debatable win against Virginia Tech, and Cal had the hype. Everybody loved the Calgorithm. Let's see if that fandom can come back on X this week. Jake, break this one down.
yeah, this is, college football in 2024, right? Somehow Miami's going across country this is a conference game
matchup.
I think it actually, in all seriousness, this is an interesting matchup. Cam Ward and the offense, they were clicking. I thought they were really good in some spots last week still, but some turnover susceptibility that maybe Cal can take advantage of. I think this Cal defense is good, but I feel like the offense has kind of lacked a little bit. Whether it's Mendoza, I'm not sure. I don't think Chandler Rogers has played for them this year. I can't lie that I've said I've watched every Cal game. JP says a little bit. Jay Knott's been kind of banged up. I think he's going to play in this game from everything that I've seen. But if you would have told me that the defense would be carrying this team right now, in the preseason, I wouldn't have believed it. But they're going to need the defense to show up Saturday night to give this Miami offense some hell if they want to have a shot in pulling off the upset.
All right, JP, give us your thoughts on this matchup.
Yeah, I think when Cal went into Florida State, I thought there was a real shot they should win that game. What ended up happening was we aren't staying healthy if you're Cal, and you ran into a defensive front that gave you real problems. And Miami's going to bring those same problems with the defensive front that they possess. Now, defense does travel. Way emotional win last week for Miami. Now you're going across country. I know that, it is what it is, and they kind of plan for it, and they're there a day early. Okay, that's fine, but it's just a different dynamic from a Miami team that we need to continually see prove us wrong in situations where traditionally they've lost these games. Again, I think Jake hit it on the head with Mendoza and this offense just not kind of getting going the way we thought it might. There's a time to do it, and right now at home against a team with a really good defense is the one to do it, because if your defense is out there, whether they've been good or not for too long against a Cam Ward-led offense that's very can get any broken play to be a 25-yard gain, I think that becomes a problem. Like if they're just running things and they're on, 5 yards, 6 yards, 10-yard gain, 2-yard gain, 5-yard gain, that's one thing. But this is a team that can hit you for a ton of explosives on off-schedule plays. And so I think that's where the worry comes in here. Again, find a way to handle the Miami front, find a way to keep the ball in your hands, and just find some kind of rhythm and make this game into a Cal version of this game and not a Miami up tempo keep the ball in their hands and making big plays type game, because that's where this could get out of control, I think.
Yeah, if you're Cal, you got to feel like you're in a good spot. I mean, they had a team last year that was be competitive randomly in games, but they couldn't get a stop to save their life. Beginning of this year, they were getting the stops, still were pretty consistently good on offense, 55th in the country right now in yards per game on the offense side of the ball. However, you are bringing in a madhouse of an offense, the number one overall offense in college football yards per game wise at 594 yards. Let me tell you what that is made up of, though. What do you think the passing number is of that Miami offense? Well, if you said 409 of the 500 you'd be correct. I mean, they want to throw the ball. So that's what you have to limit. You have to stop Cam Ward and pray. And we've talked about this before because we're a pro Cam Ward podcast. Cam Ward is a little bit different in October. He has been in his career, Washington State time. That's when he starts turning the ball over. Jake talks about it all the time. JP mentions it. Reese even mentions it. You need that to be competitive with the offensive firepower that you're about to see from Miami. Not that Cal hasn't gotten the stops throughout the year, but you're asking a lot for a defense to fall into old habits and letting a Miami offense pretty much dictate the rest of this game. Defensively for Miami, you got to limit Jaden Ott, Javion Thomas in the screen game on the ground. That's what Cal's going to do. They're going to want to keep this Miami offense off the field. I don't know if they can do it enough with the amount of firepower you have, not only in Cam Ward, but Damian Martinez. I think people, a lot of the time with how Cam Ward's playing, people are forgetting that that's who he's handing it off to when they are running the ball very few times. It's an elite back. So it's too much firepower on the offense for Miami in this spot. In my mind, Reese.
Yeah, I think it's going to be a lot of Miami for Cal to handle. You talk about, I mean, Jay Nott is their offense, and he's been handling injuries all year too. They're going to try to make it ugly. Can they make it that ugly for that long? Like, you watch Cam Ward play, the dude can just improvise. It can be 3rd and 17, and he's going to run for it. He's going to get a check down. He's going to underhand a ball to somebody, or he's going to throw a 40-yard bomb. Like, the guy is just good. He knows how to get his team to win football games. And that game last week, I think, was just a little bit of a wake-up call. You kind of think this is maybe a spot where you kind of get lulled to sleep. I mean, I saw that. I don't know if you guys have seen it yet, but it's like, imagine being the equipment manager driving the truck from Miami to Cal for this game right now. Like, that's ridiculous. So if you think about how far these guys got to travel, like, yeah, there's a chance to kind of lull and fall asleep. But I think there's just too many athletes on this Miami team that this number is, I'm surprised it's not bigger. I think Miami just goes in and handles this one. I don't know if there's Cam Ward has to turn over the ball 5-6 times, I think, for Cal to keep this thing close. And I just don't see him doing it that many times. They're going to start running the ball if that happens.
Fair breakdown there. All right, kick it off round table style. Final thoughts. Who wins? Who covers? Jake.
Yeah, like I said, defense has been really good. I just wish Cal had a go-to receiver. I don't feel like they do at this point, but also haven't we forgotten?
Let's breathe a little bit. 1 second. We're just gonna let it catch.
I'm not sure what.
There we go.
It's just like a connection thing. Come back a little bit and just talk.
Push the mic down.
Try to be monotone.
Somebody else just go.
Okay. No, you good. You sounded good there.
I think you're fine.
That was good right there. All right. Just give me Cal. I'm going to take Cal at home.
Simplified it. Okay. Cal plus the 10 at home.
Thank you.
And Miami wins the game, though, Jake?
Yeah, I'll take Miami to win, sure.
All right. So Cal at home in Jake's spot. Reese, give us your thoughts. Who wins? Who covers?
Thanks, Jake, for taking Cal. I'm taking Miami in a landslide. I'll go 42-13.
Oh, my God. All right. There is a lot of confidence in the Canes. This is past, obviously, this is Tyler Van Dyke era. I think this is where you kind of get that Miami lull game where they get beat on the road in this spot. I think there's too much offensive firepower. And Cam Ward, if you're going to look for a quarterback that doesn't give a shit where he's playing, it's going to be in Cam Ward. I mean, he doesn't care where he's at. So I don't expect any slow starts from him. I like Miami in this spot, 38-24, and that is a cover on the road against Cal. JP.
Yeah, I really wanted to be the weird one in this one. I'll take Cal on the points. Just a spot where I think
Jordan,
you're after a really tough emotional win. You're going across country. Cal's a little down. No one's really thinking about it. Somebody knows something. 10 seems like a little low. There's a reason for that because somebody knows something. So I'll take Cal here, but I really thought I was going to be the lone dog on it.
Coming off a bye week, by the way.
That also wouldn't shock me, though, because you're coming off a bye week, and you're also probably getting back the healthiest version of Jaden Ott you've had since week 1, which is obviously a very valuable piece for Cal. So 2-2 split to end the previews tonight. So that is an interesting point to make. I think we had 4 total or 3 total 2-2 splits. I love it. But that wraps up week 6 previews. Let's go into the betting segments. let's lead it off with actually before the betting segments. Let's do two things. One, let's remind you to shop No Rivals, our good partners. ShopNoRivals.com, premium collegiate headwear with unique designs, adding teams by the day. ECU made its way today. Missouri was just added. So if your team's not on there, hit the teams button at the top, go all the way down to request your team, let them know who you're looking for. Hopefully they can get it done. Great partners nonetheless. And when you pick the hat you love, put it in your cart. And before you check out, put in the code PTFS and the discount code for free shipping. Shout out to our great partners at No Rivals. Awesome hats. Check them out today. And Jake, tell us our G5 game of the week.
Yeah, it's going to be this every single time. I think we get 3 of these a year. Commander-in-Chief, Army.
Good math.
Navy versus Navy at Air Force. Sorry, Navy at Air Force. Going to be a good one. It always is when we get these service academies together. Air Force not playing great football right now, but Navy's a really good team. It's setting up for a really good Army-Navy game this year, so I'm super excited for that. But it's always exciting to watch both of these teams play just because similar play styles, athletes, everything else that comes with it.
Speaking of Navy, JP hit on his best play of the week last week with Navy minus the 2.5, which seemed to be easy money. So good play there. I was also not fooled. I was not fooled by the BYU of the dog's dog. Let me throw that out there. We haven't gotten a chance to talk about that yet, but you guys were so afraid of Vegas. They get it wrong. They're humans too. I mean, they're not. They're computers, but they got it wrong.
Yeah, 40% of the time, the sharps are wrong.
BYU now makes their way into the Play the Fight Song top 25 this week, but let's go into the dog's dog first. Your underdog of the week to the king, Reese.
I'm going to go on a limb here. I'm not the most confident in this one, but I think it's a spot where I think this team, don't get mad at me, Parks, I'll take Rutgers plus a 7 going into Nebraska. I think it's just going to be a slow, ugly game. I don't think it's going to be high flying and scoring. I think Rutgers defense is going to be solid. Rilo is going to be fine. It's just still going to be a great ball game, Parks, but I think Rutgers has a chance to potentially win this football game or at least keep it within this number.
Check out the Play the Fight Song fan perspectives for your full breakdown of Rutgers. Yep. Check that out. I'm on the opposite side of that. I have not seen it from Rutgers. I think I said this earlier, Reese. I'll say this just quickly on that game. I thought Rutgers was going to be what Illinois is. That's what I thought we would see from Rutgers, and I haven't seen that quite yet. And they played nobody. But all right, that is Reese's dog's dog. Let's go up to JP. JP, give us your pick.
Air Force.
Oh,
I knew Air Force was going to be in a weird spot. Service Academy game. They know how to play each other, no matter how good, how bad one side is. Air Force is a team who we knew the amount of turnover for a Service Academy. It was massive. We're getting into some spots. Now you're going to get a real shot to get these kids up and playing well again. So I'll take Air Force at home plus the 10, I believe it is.
Yep.
Mm-hmm. So yeah,
you're not going to find a dumber college football bettor out there than me. Most of the time, I bet a lot with my heart, and I hated every underdog this week for the most part. However, I did spy one that I was high on in the preseason, has done nothing but let me down since I talked about them highly in our Big 12 preview. But give me Kansas plus the 2.5 on the road at Arizona State. I think this is the week that offense finally puts it together enough to win against what seems to be decent Arizona State team on the road. So give me Kansas plus the 2.5. I know I'm getting the nod of, are you insane? Kansas looks like shit every week from Jake. And that's fair, but this is the week they put it together. All those things we talked about them in the preseason, including your ass, Jake, they finally put it together on the road in Tempe this weekend. No,
I'm just so mad at myself. I let you guys talk me into Kansas this year. Just everything that you gave me grief for all off season. I couldn't stick to my guns. Peer pressure.
It looked good on paper. We didn't talk about
it. If you had Parks, I said this also. Let's throw a plug for my Big 12 show somewhere in the middle. You can check that out.
Subscribe.
Yeah, check it out somewhere in the middle. Good show. Weekly droppings. Week 6 previews out there now.
Yeah, I basically said if you'd have told me Jalen Daniels would be healthy all the way through the season, Devin Neal would be rushing for 100 yards a game, I thought this team would be a dark horse in the league without question, maybe a top 5 team in this league. And it just hasn't worked out. Bad play calling and bad turnovers. So it's a must win for them in Tempe this weekend for sure. But
I agree. As a dog's dog, better.
My dog's dog, my undefeated streak. I don't know if you guys saw last week. came up half a point short. The Aggies of New Mexico State couldn't get it done. Lost by 10. Needed 9.5. Needed 9. Couldn't get there.
God damn it.
But that's all right. Hey, we've been on the right side for a lot of this year. So we're going to go another team that has to travel from the East Coast all the way across country to California as well. Let's take Stanford at home +8 against Virginia Tech. I think Virginia Tech was going to be your ACC dark horse team, kind of similar to Kansas, not too as extreme, right? As disappointing, but last week really had to set them back. I really feel like they had that game, and yeah, they don't want to travel cross country to play a Stanford team. They couldn't get up for Vanderbilt. How could they get up for Stanford?
All right. That is another greasy dog from Jake. But with that, before we go to best bets of the week,
Reese?
I do want to talk about. Oh, go ahead, Reese. Sorry, I didn't see the
I was about
finger.
to say, I
blending
thought
with your ear.
Schaefer was about to ride with my boys for a second. He was saying East
Yeah.
Coast to West Coast, but I thought he was about to say Nevada, dude. You guys may not like it, dude. That's gonna be a good football game.
Yeah, no, it's the best game on Friday.
It's gonna be a great football.
It's the best game on Friday.
That is by far the best game on Friday, and it's going to be a good matchup anyway. I looked at that one earlier because I thought about Syracuse in the dog spot. I just can see that happening after all the G5 hype around UNLV the past couple of weeks. But before we get to pick of the week, I want to ask you guys this. This is a line you probably wouldn't take with a 10-foot pole. We don't want to sniff. We would have these conversations all the time when we lived together. But how about Michigan being a 2.5-point underdog on the road at Washington? When is the last time the top 10 team has been a underdog on the road at an unranked team that already has 2 losses? I would like
Is that a trivia question? Because I think there's an answer, and I feel like it wouldn't be that long.
What would your answer be? I really would have no idea. For a 2-loss team in week 6?
It'd be early in the year.
I was going to say it's the same exact thing as the BYU Baylor game last week, and how'd that turn out? I don't think Washington's as bad of a disaster as Baylor is, but it's same line, similar scenario.
Top 10 team being an underdog. It's just so weird in that spot, but it's also understandable after watching Michigan, but don't touch that line. I just thought it was an interesting thing to throw out there from when I was looking through. But all right, let's go picks of the week. JP, give us your pick of the week. Who are we taking?
Bowling Green.
All right. That's like the third time.
We got off on the wrong
bounce
step.
back.
Like, yeah, we can't lose to Old Dominion if we're Bowling Green. I know we had some close losses to some power schools, and then we got to play someone on our level and we lose a close one. Not this week against Akron. I think it's 15. It does not matter. Akron is Akron, and Bowling Green gets back on track here.
Akron is Akron.
All right.
Good analysis there.
Jake, give us your pick of the week.
Yeah, let's stick with dog theme. I wasn't going to give this out, but then JP said it, so I have to say it. I'm going Air Force team under 12.5. I think that this is going to be slow, methodical. JP might cover with 6 points, but this Air Force offense is horrendous. It's like top 5 worst in the country. Horrendous. They lost to Wyoming last week, which I didn't think Wyoming could beat anybody. So yeah, team under 12.5 for Air Force.
All right, that's a little weird pick, but I like it. Reese, your pick of the week.
That's hyper specific right there, buddy. I like that. Where else are you getting that line?
Travis Hunter over 128 snaps. Book it. No,
I'm gonna go with one that we talked about before. I gave a massive spread, spread on this one. I'm taking Tennessee all the way. Going on the road to Arkansas. I think they're gonna go in there just gonna manhandle these guys.
All right, I think that's a fair pick as well. Considering that was one of our unanimous, we're not going to get a lot of disagreements from the boys. To wrap everything up, I'm going to take one that may be hated by Jake and JP. I can just see this being a pick that's hated by them, but I don't give a shit what you think about Florida State over the last 2 weeks. Give me Clemson minus 14.5 on the road.
I was going to say, okay,
dude, I'm pro Clemson. I've bet Clemson in the last 3 weeks.
That was my other one.
Where the line is and them on the road, you don't think this is like a somewhat of a scary spot for Florida State to show?
You've seen Florida State play football?
Yeah, they're terrible. So 14.5. I think that 17-0 is a possibility for this game, and Clemson wins it and covers in that situation. I think Florida State doesn't get more than 10 points, if at all. And if they do, Klubnik will do enough to win 34-10, something like that. So I see them in a spot covering this number no matter what. I think Florida State sucks at football. So that's my opinion. I
have one more.
Okay.
Before we get out of here, I will take, I I took a little bit of juice. I am taking South Carolina plus 10. I had it at minus 120. So I am giving the Gamecocks 10 points at home.
Big
I
fan
just-
of Cocktober.
Two
It's
things.
Go
No,
ahead.
go
Okay,
ahead, Jake.
let's
I
hear
just
it.
have two things after. I didn't mean to like cut you off. That was 100% my bad.
Oh, no. Are you talking about this game or two things like you got plays?
I have a thing after.
I don't.
There's
I had
three
dibs
things
after-
out there.
I had dibs
I
after
will-
Schaefer.
To elaborate, we broke it down, right? But we didn't say like Ole Miss has. It's kind of like Arizona and Ted McMillan. Like Trey Harris is the only one getting the ball right now, and I just think that's not a good recipe to carry on the road if you're Jackson Dart. I think they need a second option. Juice Wells, somebody in that receiver room needs to step up. But I really like this home field advantage for South Carolina, and I like the defensive line. So
All right, Jake, once again, all over the Cox. Reese, your point before we go to JP's double points.
Say Schaefer, are we not or JP? Are we not going to do the principal play here and mention that for like?
That's what I was going to say.
I
I
was
feel
gonna
like
say, okay,
somebody needs that.
Go ahead, brother. I was gonna take it, but I want to take it from somebody else. Like, go ahead, brother.
Just take under 35.5 in Air Force Navy. It's a service academy game. Clock's
It's
changed.
the principal play.
They're starting to catch up a little bit. Books are getting closer and closer on this.
Yeah,
thing,
they
but
are.
Just do it till otherwise.
or
Do
you
it
can do
until total otherwise.
2 for 1. Take Air Force's team under. Maybe little 2-team parlay. Give yourself a couple
same
points.
game parlay.
Yeah, give yourself a couple points, then take Air Force's under at 14.
All
There
right,
you go.
those are the greasy picks, best bets of the week, along with Dog's Dog or G5 Game of the Week and Week 6 previews. We will be back on Sunday morning to recap Week 6. However, Jake will not be in attendance due to him being in Ames for the Cyclones matchup with Baylor. Check out his preview over on our YouTube on his fan perspective segment. I previewed Rutgers, Nebraska on ours, and JP obviously previewed Iowa and Ohio State. So it's a good week in college football fandom-wise, so check those out today. Hit the subscribe button. Hit the like button. It helps more than you know, so hit that like button today. Hit the subscribe button. Let's get to 700 by the time we talk to you next week. Week 7 preview, let's be at 700. We appreciate you being here. What should they do to the channel and everything we ever post on social media, Reese?
Like, comment, subscribe. Get one friend to follow it too.
Code for shopnorivals.com, our good partners at No Rivals, JP.
PTFS.
I love that. And Jake, take us away.
See you next time. Play it.